Hi, everybody. Sorry, yes, we're 22 minutes late. Forgive us. We were having some serious technical difficulties here, but welcome to KEM Top Talk.
Hi everyone, welcome back.
I'm your host, Marabelle Blue,
And I'm your co-host, Justine Yanes.
who's not feeling very
No,
well.
I'm sick. I'm drinking emergency though, but I'm sick. I was telling Dr. Sue on the phone, I think I got sick from a porn star.
And we have on the phone Dr. Sue, who was also featured on Kinky Magazine in the Dominant Women issue, talking about her website, drsue.com. Please tell me I said that correctly, Dr. Sue. No? I fuck up everything.
No, it's the drsuereview.com.
Okay, it's the drsuereview.com, and I know you can hear her well because we got a phone call a couple of weeks ago. We were here, and I listened to it back. So if you have any problems hearing,
Yes.
Please let us know. The chat room is on. So
Yes.
please join the chat room here on
And
Ustream.
if you cannot hear Dr. Sue, let us know, because we don't hear what you hear.
Yes, exactly. Somebody says, "Hey Sue." So let's get started with the show. Okay. I have a new book, and that's not part of the news. But I'm trying to be, much more organized. So in the essence of that, I bought a new book, and that's why I started off first. Okay. So this week, as you know, I began watching Kelly and Michael, that's shown on ABC, and I really, really enjoy them because they're just such a cool, like ever since Kelly Ripa has Michael Strahan as a co-host, it's just a much more hip show to watch.
Does anybody ever notice how Kelly Ripa's head is way too big for her little body?
No, but I saw her up close, and she's actually a really cute girl, and she wears like these massive heels. Speaking of heels, if you're on Instagram, I took pictures of the shoes that I talked about on last week's show. About, when I took the laxatives after drinking the Starbucks
That
coffee.
was too much information, and it's still too much information.
I'm just being honest. I mean, this is KEM Top Talk.
I'm gonna ban the word laxative from KM Top Talk. We got Madam Devilish and Muffy are listening in, and they say, Dr. Sue, they say that you will know who they are.
Oh, I know who they are. They're wonderful people.
Well, thank you for logging in and watching KEM Top Talk. And somebody says Kelly Ripa's so overrated.
That's my mom in the chat room, and she's right. She's absolutely right.
But anyway, so Michael Strahan makes this comment about that long nails are back. Unfortunately for me, I took off my nails a long time ago because I have a biting problem. I'm always messing around with my nails. I have no nails. So I don't know if this is true or not, but I will say this. If you are going to go to the nail salon and get long nails, do not have those nails that curve all over the place because I will ask one day how you clean your fucking ass.
No, you can't wipe your ass.
There's no way. I mean, it's like, what do? Do you take a scrub and like wipe your ass? Like, how does anybody do that?
Right.
Anyway, so if this is true, please confirm.
Ashley Louise says gel nails are cool and long nails are yummy.
Yes, but how long is the whole thing? You have to have them nice, not like, super long, like the Long Island medium woman. Like, she had like really mad long nails.
Once they start curling under and stuff, I think that's kind of weird.
I think that should be our bar to go by. Once they start curling, they're not pretty anymore.
And it's unsanitary. As a doctor, don't you agree?
Yes, exactly. Right, exactly. So, needless to say, if anybody could confirm that they are, we'll find out.
Those looming nails are gross, filthy and gross. I agree.
Yeah, they are. You have to, there's a way to keep nice nails. And, mad long curling is not nice. Okay, so this week in the news, Lindsay Lohan had called the. We're back to Lindsay again.
I'm Team Lindsay. I love Lindsay Lohan.
Well, apparently she was kidnapped by her mom. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did.
That whole family is insane. Well, what do you think, Dr. Sue?
The family is very disturbed. They've got a lot of issues that need to be, obviously addressed. But the problem is you're looking at a bunch of people. Once you get money, you end up being surrounded by people who never say no. And you have to do the best you can to keep yourself grounded. And clearly she has no one she can go to. Her father is baked, her mother's baked. Like, she's holding the whole family together.
Well, right, exactly, you're right. Let me tell you, I spent a weekend with Michael Lohan, not in that way. I was invited to his house a couple of years ago because a friend of mine, she's a photographer / writer, and she asked me to go to accompany her because she's never been to his house, and girls sticking together, whatever. And we went to his house, and let me tell you something, he was the most gracious host I have ever visited. He was Michael Lohan. He was extremely gracious.
It doesn't.
You know why? Because Michael Lohan is what I would deem to be a psychopath. And psychopaths are very, very, very good with the charm.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That is the case with my ex-boyfriend.
There you go.
Yes, my ex-boyfriend was a complete psychopath, and my mother, who's watching right now, I'm sure we'll weigh in on this one. His name was Jimmy, and he was a complete psychopath, but he was so charming. To the point where after my first date, I said, I don't get a great vibe from this guy, and all my friends were like, no, he's amazing, he's so charming, he's so sweet. And then a year later, people were like, if you ever talk to him again, we'll disown you.
But you see, that goes to show you that not all your friends know what's good for you in a relationship.
Oh my God, no. And the other thing I think that we need to point out really, really big time in what you just said is, if your gut tells you,
yes,
if you've got a weird feeling, your gut is never wrong. People, please listen to your gut because it's coming from a different source.
Yes.
So it's giving you a red flag for a reason. Never, ever disregard that gut instinct.
I agree. I totally agree. Now, Dr. Sue, would you say that about the debate with Paul Ryan? Because when I look at him, I get a really odd feeling in my gut, like this man is not right at all. And I've never physically met him, but I've seen pictures of him.
You don't need to. You can still pick up a vibe from someone regardless of, because it's like doing a tarot reading. You don't have to be in with the person. You don't even have to have them in the same room.
Right.
You're getting a gut instinct, and it's coming from another source that's telling you, hello, this guy looks like Walter Weenie, and you don't really get a good vibe from him.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat room just said Paul Ryan is a douche.
No, Paul Ryan's not a douche because he's not good enough to be inside of me. Okay.
Paul Ryan was wearing suits in the womb. Well, we have a lively chat room, so if you're watching the show, you should definitely come in, log on, and join the conversation with us at KEM TopTalk.
I want to go back to this Michael Lohan thing because you said he was a gracious host and everything, and
he was extremely gracious.
I agree with Dr. Sue 100% in that, these men that are psychopaths, they behave that way because that's their way to lure you in and trap you in. You can't take away from the fact that this man extorted his own daughter.
Well, think of it this way, people. He was the one that released the phone call that everyone got to hear of this meltdown between him and her and the mom, and Nina. So think about that for a moment. If that doesn't scream, fame whore, I don't know what does.
Well, why do you think...
Why would you release that? As a good, loving father, you're not going to do that. Why would you do that?
But Dr. Sue, in your opinion, why do you think that this family needs to feel or feels the need to consistently exploit themselves in that way?
Approval. All we ever want is approval from everybody else.
That's true.
The funny thing is, you get into these situations and you notice they're not getting a lot of approval, they're just getting a lot of negative attention. And that's where they seem to have it all kind of discombobulated. Yes, you're not going to get the approval that you're looking for by behaving the way you're behaving. It's not going to happen. Everyone, like you said, everyone thinks, well, Paul Ryan's a douche, but so is Mr. Williams.
Yeah, I'll tell you, there are a lot of comments that are going on in the chat room. There's somebody that was saying insecure.
I like Ashley, who says, I feel for the poor girl. No wonder she keeps getting into it and it's censored. I'm sure she's saying shit.
Well, because she really doesn't have a really positive example of what a good family is.
She's alone. I do agree that, she's alone and she grew up too young and everything, and she's a victim of her own circumstance. But I will say this. Your life is not what's given to you, it's what you make of it. So I think that now it's at a point where, and I'm totally Team Lindsay, but I feel like, and I feel for her, but I feel like she's at a point where now she's an adult, and she's lived the life, paid the consequences, and now she needs to get on her own 2 feet and go, fuck you guys, I know you're my family, but fuck you, I gotta let you go. I did it personally with my own family. My mother's the only person in my family that I still have communication with, because I had to tell them, I had to cut them loose and say, I'm not going to be a victim of my own circumstance.
Right.
Because I could have very well ended up much like a Lindsay Lohan. So I think that she needs to grow up and kind of start saying, I'm an adult now.
If you listen to that phone conversation that she had, was it yesterday?
I think it was, yeah.
She made a very poignant point. Not the one where she's freaking out with her dad on the phone, but when she called in TMZ. She said that I'm the one who fixes things.
Could be a lot of things.
She said that.
She sees herself as this human bandit trying to hold everybody together, which in fact is only doing, tearing her apart.
Right.
It's completely making her, in effect, useless. I agree with you 100%. You have negative people in your life. They have to
when you give somebody medicine and you don't diagnose,
I don't care if it's your mom. Because at no time did anyone say to you, okay, here's this contract. You have to love your parents and your family and your siblings for the rest of your life.
Right.
You never signed that contract, you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what?
Get her out of your life.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Sue, I'm not going to even argue with you on that point. I had a horrible argument with my father via text message about a week or two ago, and he said some really horrible things to me, and I think after a while, as a woman, as a grown woman, there's only so much that one will tolerate, even from their parents. And the things that he said to me were absolutely unacceptable. And as a result, I stopped speaking to him. And I told my mother, tell your husband that he lost a daughter in me. And she writes back, well, we'll miss you, but you did this to yourself. Wow. And I'm like, I can't believe that my mother just told me that. I mean, it's I'm not going to talk about the situation of what entailed or what ensued this argument, because it's a very personal and private thing that happened. However, aside from that, to have him speak to me in the way that he did, it just came to a point. I blocked his phone calls and I blocked his text messages because I didn't want to hear from him anymore. And I think as an adult woman who runs my own business, I shouldn't have to, hear shit like that, even if it's coming from my father. I think...
And they are dead right.
Yes.
And you will have moments where you'll go, oh, but it's my dad. Or someone's going to, at some point, try and make you feel guilty. What you have to remember is, the guilt that they're trying to put onto you is because whatever you're doing isn't making them feel good. But it's not your job to make them feel good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You have to make you feel good. And if not having your father in your life is going to do that, oh well. If your mom sides with him, again, oh well. There's nothing that you can do about that. It's not any other. If you think about it, it's very arrogant of someone to think that they should change anyway. So if you sit there and think about it, why should your father have to change?
Exactly.
If he wants to be a jerk, that's his decision. He's an adult. He can do that.
Right.
And it's certainly not your job to turn him around. So, let him be a jerk. It's okay.
I totally agree with you. And in lieu of continuing anything that I know I could do at the end of the show, I think that we should continue this flow of conversation, because it all stems from having relationships, and the topic is cheating. So moving forward with the upbringing of parents, do you think that as any person growing up with their family, how much of an influence do children have when they grow up? I mean, I'll disclose this because I put it in my autobiography anyway. But I've seen both of my parents go outside of their relationships, and as a result, I've acted out on the same behavior. I'm not saying that it's a good behavior or that I'm, what is that word I'm looking for?
This is where you and I are different. Mm-hmm. Marabelle and I, Dr. Sue, are very different on this because I did see my father cheat on my mother, and it impacted me in a way so that I hate cheating and cheaters, and I'm so I believe so much in monogamy, and it makes me so angry when people do go outside of their relationships because it brings things, not just heartbreak and not just pain, and it can't just ruin somebody's life. It's violation, but it also can spread disease, right? And it's so toxic and disgusting to me. And I this is why we're having the show tonight. I got really passionate about it the other day, and I feel like I was thinking a lot about why people cheat and stuff, and I do think it has to do with what you were surrounded with as a child and what you were introduced to and how it impacted you.
Mm-hmm. I think that it can go so many ways. Before Dr. Sue responds, I want to clear the record that I don't approve of myself of what I did. What I was trying to say. Just because I saw my parents doing it, it doesn't mean that it's okay. But there was something going on inside of me at the time. And again, that's what prompted me to begin the magazine and begin blogging and all of these things that I was doing, was that there was something missing in my life. And it didn't have to do with something external that I was going to find in a man, because this is where I was constantly stuck with. If I find this perfect Prince Charming, everything is going to be all right. And then I would find a flaw with him and go outside of that because he wasn't as perfect as I wanted him to be.
Right.
And eventually, I still had incidences, which is also in my book, but still, I think in this day and age, for me, it's very important to be with that one person and not feel the violation of going outside of the relationship, because I think that some people actually find it thrilling. To do that, to go behind,
and that's a lifestyle
back.
choice. But that's a lifestyle choice, and it's a choice. If both couples agree on that lifestyle choice, then it's not cheating per se. But you have to make sure that your significant other is comfortable with that and is on the same page as you.
Right, Dr. Sue.
Precisely. First of all, both of you are correct. One, you have to, and we need to remember this as adults, that children will learn what they see.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So don't, even though people are trying to, how people are like turning around and doing this whole, we'll be quiet, we don't want the kid to hear.
Right.
The kid doesn't have to hear. Okay, so the kid is watching the entire thing. They're watching the interaction between the adults.
Right.
They don't even need to know what's being said. Mm-hmm. They're not stupid. Mm-hmm. Children are actually more closer to, vibrating at the right level than the rest of us are.
Right. Well, body language is universal.
Precisely. I mean, you wouldn't even need to speak the same language. You're still going to pick up on that vibe. It's the same gut instinct that we were discussing before. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, if you see it, you're going to think, well, okay, I guess it's okay because mom's doing it. Now, to be fair, though, when you reach adulthood, you also, unless you have some sort of mental illness, have the ability to say, no, I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you can say it's an influence, it is, but you still have to, at some point, pull up your big girl pants and say, I screwed up.
Right.
And I was obviously trying to look for something that was going to make me feel good in someone else. And that's where you went wrong.
Right. Yes, exactly.
That's the problem right there. Yes. Don't look for, all that, everything that you're Prince Charming. That's a heavy, if you sit down and think about it, that's a heavy load to stick on a guy.
I agree.
That's a huge, to be a Prince Charming? Oh,
I agree. I mean, it's not only
I don't
that.
see how it could be so hard when I'm a perfect queen. I just, I feel so strong.
Because they're men, think about it.
Yeah, well,
I feel so
really.
strongly about cheating, though. I want to show you what I did to the last guy who cheated on me. If for anybody who's watching.
I told you about it.
That's what I did to the last guy who cheated on me.
Yeah, buddy. That is for anybody who's not listening.
Wow. Your mother's hysterical laughing.
Hilarious. Like, okay, that was the end of it right there. This is what happens when you cheat.
But you know what?
Just beat up your truck like what's your face? Your ass, not your truck.
Right. But you know what, Dr. Sue? In my own personal experience of having been cheated on and then ending my relationship by cheating, I realized that I needed to stop being in relationships. This was my problem. I had jumped from one relationship to another. I didn't even give myself enough time in between there. I mean, the relationship that ended, it's been 12 years now. It's been over 12 years. Right before we started going out with each other, 9 months before then, I had a boyfriend who passed away. He was terminally ill. I don't even think I gave myself that space because
No, you didn't even give yourself a chance to breathe.
no, I was grieving throughout the relationship. So you can only imagine how he felt that every time something came up or something happened that I would start crying and I would start feeling all of these feelings, and it was really, really, really horrible. So, over 6 years of being in this relationship, I think that, both of us had learned a really hard lesson about who we are, who we were as a couple, and who we are as individuals. And I'll tell you, I don't like the man sometimes, but I like us better apart than we were together. We were not meant to be together, and it took a lot of dealing with my own ego to get away from that. But I'm very comfortable with saying that we were not meant to be, and that was fine. That's
See, and that's the adult way of doing it. In a perfect world, we would all go to one another and say, you know what, this isn't working for me for whatever reason, and I want to go. But as we all know, first of all, men, and guys can take me for this all you want, but you guys are classic for not wanting to confront anything.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
easier to run and hide. Now, Ashley in the chat room said, I have a story, and I know what she's talking about with the 4 strains of HIV.
I was going to ask you about that.
It's a really good story as far as cheating is concerned.
right.
And because I deal a lot in the fetish world, this particular story deals with that, but it doesn't matter at all. This gentleman had bisexual tendencies and was very submissive and enjoyed going to adult theaters
Okay.
to get his kink on, because for a submissive male to have another male demand something from him in this theater, that's going to be pretty hot for them.
Right.
So I understand the psyche behind it. I get why he was doing what he was doing, but when I explored it further with him, it turns out he was doing this 3 to 5 times per week and had been doing this for well into a year.
Wow.
And when I asked him, are you having protected sex, he said absolutely not, because these guys don't want it.
Oh
Now,
my God.
the day he was confessing this to me on the phone, his wife was actually listening to him in another room. We didn't know. He thought she had left.
Oh my God.
She had actually come back back in the house and was listening to this story that he's telling me. And I remember he hung up really, really quickly. Like, it was just like, whoa, okay, I guess something went down. He called me back later to let me know what happened. And I said, so what's going on? And he said, well, I'm getting divorced. I was served with divorce papers the following day. And I said, well, you can't blame her.
Right.
What you did was you endangered her life. And that's not fair.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying, and I know that there are some people who even have death wish fetishes, and I don't think that was his issue, but he wasn't happy in the marriage. So rather than confront that, you know, it's easier for me to just get lost in my kink, and I don't really care what happens. Now, what happened to this guy, and this is why we're seeing the 4 strains of HIV, he went and got tested because his wife demanded it, and so through the lawyers and whatever, and it turns out that he has 4 separate strains of HIV. So what's really mind-numbing is not just the fact that he has 4. First of all, I didn't know there were that many separate
4 strains.
There's actually, I think you said it was 6 or 7.
I didn't know that there were that many.
So now think about that for a second. What's mind-boggling in all of this is even if you put, you know, even if you put aside what he did to his wife, which I don't think we should, but
Right.
if we shelve it for a minute.
Right.
For him to have, think about this a minute, for him to have 4 different strains of HIV, it would mean that he had to have had unprotected sex with 4 different guys who all knew they were HIV positive.
Oh my
That,
God.
I mean, that
Okay, and this
I
is
wouldn't
the
even
kind of
argue with
thing
that
that's
point.
going on in the theaters and with some of these submissive men who are going out and they're doing this and they're doing it unprotected. And it's part of that whole, well, you know, it's kind of like playing Russian roulette. So what does he do, this is killer? What does he do? He calls up somebody on Craigslist. And this is, he's telling me all this.
Even worse.
With divorce papers, he knows he's got HIV. Well, now he's gone into who gives a shit mode. You know, at this point,
Not
who gives
good.
a shit? I'm going to die anyway, so I'm going to go have some fun. So he meets up with some guy on Craigslist, and I said, for the love of God, do you realize that if you don't divulge this, you can be brought up on murder charges?
Murder.
Yeah,
Yes.
And
exactly.
he said, well, it didn't matter because this guy said he was HIV positive when he went, okay, check this out. He goes into the hotel room, sits down with the guy, and says, okay, here's the deal, I'm HIV positive. And the guy who was just about to squirrel him said, that's okay, so am I. Had he not said that, this guy who was going to squirrel him would never have told him he was HIV positive.
You see, that is so...
I am too, because he said he was HIV positive.
Yes.
Otherwise, he would have said that.
Yeah, but that's the same like saying 2 wrongs don't make 1 right. That is so irresponsible of 2 people to do that, because basically they're reinfecting each other.
But
Everyone's infecting everyone, and
oh my God, that is so scary.
Everyone thinks it's also just a gay thing. It's not. You gotta
It's
understand
not,
that most
no.
of the guys in these theaters
Right.
are also IV drug users. So
Exactly.
it's not coming at you from both ends of you parts of fun. It's coming at you every which way but loose because you're in this crowd of people who you know are not really, you know, up and up people, and that's
Right.
sort of thrill. But now you've not only crushed your relationship, and all because you couldn't go to her and say, I have this kink, this is what I enjoy. No, why confront when I can just sneak around behind her back? And now, God knows, God, I hope, I don't know, but I hope she never got infected. But, because he said they weren't having sex anymore. But who knows when he got infected?
well, the other thing is like it's like you said, it's not just a gay thing, and it's also not just a drug use thing because so he's bisexual and he's having sex. Let's say he did have sex with his wife and got her infected, and say none of this had ever come out. As I'm sure this happens with a lot, unfortunately, with a lot of families and couples. Right, and it's so unfortunate, but some of them don't even know. And then let's say she goes out and after she leaves him or even whatever, and she has sex with another man.
Right.
And now she's infecting that, and then now it's not a matter of it being a gay, straight, or drug abuse thing. It's just a matter of being a permanent normal health issue where like it's going to become an epidemic, like unfortunately what I have, the flu.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully I won't get it sitting next to her.
Just don't share your drink and don't go sit in the theater and do nasty.
I won't have unprotected sex with Marabelle, I promise.
I think that would probably, she would appreciate that. Although I think the guys would probably like it if you did it, considering it's right there on the bar table.
Right, exactly. Well, doesn't it beg the question again, what I said before about the thrill of or the high of doing something behind someone's back? It's still, for me, it's still fucked up across the board. For this man to do what he did, and if it wasn't for his wife listening, I always believe that the universe provides and lets you know certain things at a certain time when you're completely ready to hear those things. I don't believe that this woman coexisted with her husband and did not suspect something that he was doing. I mean, it's like, how can you mask that?
No.
How could you sleep at night knowing that you were doing these things, that you were infecting other people? There's no way. I mean, personally for me, if I had something, I couldn't just go around and just pass my shit to other people and feel good about it.
Denial, though, denial is such a powerful thing. Where we from the outside can look at certain situations and go, how did that person not know? Come on. Denial is such a powerful thing. Never underestimate the power of denial.
Can you say that for a woman who finds out her husband is a serial killer?
Yes. Yes. Never underestimate the power of denial. I am telling you. It is, people will believe what they want to believe so that they can live their day in and out in the most blissful state possible.
That's not a good thing.
It's not.
Dr. Sue, how do you deal with people when they come forward to you and they're talking about certain issues and you start feeling like you're taking it personal? How do you separate yourself, your own personal emotions? Has anybody ever come to you and talk to you about a problem that they were having that may have hit close to home for you? How did you deal with that?
It's going to happen all the time. I mean, dealing with what I'm dealing with and the fact that I come from an abused background, yeah, you got certain things. I mean, there's certain things that get me going, and I do hear, about the guys who are pedophiles. I do occasionally run into them, and yeah, they're the ones that are kind of nasty, and you do what you can to try and knock them up and get them the heck off the street, but the long and the short of it is, it's also not my job to clean them up,
right.
But, you do what you got to do, and you try to report them. It's always going to be that way. I try really hard. The other problem is when having a dominant personality is kind of hard, too, because as soon as I hear, someone confessing to me, by the way, keep an eye on this, ladies. I hang out in women's change rooms and, peek underneath. Stuff like that. You're just kind of like, and one guy actually told me that he used to do that in the children's change rooms, and yeah, you do want to call.
That is so wrong on every fucking level I could imagine.
You do want to call through the phone and kill him, but you can't do it. You just got to keep it cool and report it to the people you need to report it to, and that's all you can do, and hope that it's handled. But as we all know, it probably doesn't get handled. It probably gets shelved. So
Why do you think you get those type of phone calls? I mean, are they really reaching out for help?
I think because of the fact the forum being on night clerk affords them anonymity. So it's not like if you come and sit down in an office setting, which is the reason why I went online to do what I do anyway.
Right.
It's because in a clinical setting, first of all, someone sitting across from you is going to get very uncomfortable discussing certain things about their lives, especially the sex life. When you're talking to men especially, they get horny when they're talking to you about what it is they find, turns them on. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Go right ahead. But in a clinical setting, can you whip it out and start jerking it? No. So, it affords them that relaxing sort of a buffer zone where they can just go, oh, this is fine, and I can just sit back and relax, and I can just let this spew because she's not sitting right in front of me. There's no major judgment. I'm not, looking down at them. And,
right.
these guys, it's just the way they are. But you know,
Uh,
you gotta do.
Ashley Louise says, when I was doing Cam Girl, guy wanted me to listen about him wanting to rape the girlfriend of his brother or his friend. Showed me photos of her that were sick. And I mean, oh my god, like you just have this like sick fantasy of like raping your brother's girlfriend. So Dr. Sue, what's the weirdest or craziest story anyone's ever confessed to you that you thought there's no way, I mean I might actually hang up the phone right now.
There was one, and the other problem is because a lot of what these guys are living is a fantasy world. You also have to learn to take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
Right.
Because you learn to kind of listen to the inflection in voices and stuff and to see whether, okay, is this guy just going down fantasy lane or is this guy serious? And the one story I heard from one guy was how he had a female therapist in the States who would send him girls who were 14, 15, 16 years old that had issues, emotional issues, and who she knew did not have any family background that if they went missing, anyone would care. And allegedly she used to send these girls up to him. He was in, for some reason I'm thinking Washington or even D.C., and no, it wasn't Canada, it was in BC. And he would send these girls out there and quote unquote for further therapy, and all she was doing was feeding him these young girls so that he would rape and torture them.
Oh my
because
God.
He, quote unquote, was in the special ops division of the United States Forces.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And the guy was, he was in Cambodia for a very long time and learned how to torture in order to get information out. And because of this, he could no longer get off unless he was doing it.
Oh my God.
So wait, is this
do you think a power trip?
Do you think this is a true story? This actually happened?
It's a tough call. I mean, we know that young girls, we know men and women go missing all the time. It wouldn't surprise me. It was quite detailed, but to sit there and say, "Oh, that was just silly." I would never say that.
Were they?
We are the most horrible creatures to each other. So I would most certainly believe it if someone.
Oh my God! And
what makes us horrible is because we have a conscience. That's what makes us horrible creatures.
I don't understand. Is there a way to find this person? Is there a way to find this therapist and report this therapist to the authorities? What kind of a therapist sends underage young girls to be tortured?
I know, but sweetie, there are so many very, 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 very bad and evil therapists out there. There really are.
Oh my God!
Unfortunately, I always tell people, don't settle on the first person you come to if you have weird feelings from them. Just because someone has a piece of paper doesn't make them okay.
Ashley says it's probably on Google.
How many male therapists take advantage of female patients?
My eyes are watering up right now. Like, this story is making me absolutely sick to my stomach. I mean, what if these girls are being murdered or whatever?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my!
And it's not even something that we have control over.
I can only go back to the company and say, okay, re-listen to this phone call.
Right.
Find out who this guy is because you're the only ones who can do this.
Do you record? Do you record all your phone calls? Do you record?
No.
Okay.
None of the phone calls are recorded.
Oh my God.
I have a feeling they have it on a loop of some sort because they can go back and re-listen to the
And you do all of your phone therapy. Do you use Night Flirt as a source of your therapy?
I do Night Flirt primarily. I would say 95% of it is coming from Night Flirt. I'm on my phone site as well. I try to sprinkle myself everywhere. I was on some of the cleaner ones. The problem is with Ingenio and stuff. I did get booted from Ingenio, and the reason was I was in under sex therapy, and because it's a very vanilla clean site, and this guy
Oh.
was talking to me and masturbating, they booted me off. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting him off. He's telling me this.
Right.
I can't help what he's doing. But
Exactly.
they freaked out. So, but that's, I just try to sprinkle myself. You can email me. I've got the radio show. You guys can call in and talk to me that way. There's all kinds of ways that you can get in touch with me. But primarily, it's doing things on Nightflirt. Because it just made sense to me to put myself in where the people were that you figure would probably need you.
Right. Let's switch the gears a little bit as far as the cheating is concerned. Let's switch over to the cheating that happens in natural relationships. They start off really well. They progress, as relationships all do, and then one of them goes outside of the relationship. However, they decide to stick together and work it out.
Well, cheating is also a very relative term because what I might consider cheating, you might not, and you have to. I think that's something that you have to discuss as far as boundaries go in the beginning of a relationship. For me, and I know it's not healthy. I'm a very jealous Latina, cut your throat in your sleep woman. Okay, I will cut.
Shake the guy. Just shake him.
You don't even know. I will cut your nuts off, dip them in glitter, and wear them as earrings. Okay, like it's. I'm
Even
very.
with me, I would never tolerate it. But you got to understand that a lot of these guys are very, very smooth. It can go under your radar.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to give yourself a break. It does happen to the best of us. You put your trust in somebody and they walk on it. And that's really what the issue is when you're trying to redo the relationship, is building that trust level back.
Right.
If it ever can be. Like me, I would never trust you again. So goodbye.
Right.
I think that's the way I am.
Because
if you want to try and give it a try, that's great.
right. Have you ever had, couples call you saying, we want to work it out, but this happened? Even goes back to Bill Clinton. He was getting a blowjob from another woman. That's still cheating. Like, people don't even regard oral sex. It's like, that's cheating. But you're not getting it from your wife. You're getting it from another woman. So
someone gives my man a blowjob. That is cheating.
Right. Exactly.
I agree. 100%. With any type of, sexual gratification. Now, there are a lot of women out there who think that strippers are cheating, and I would have to beg to differ with that, because I realize there are back rooms. I'm not that stupid. I realize that you can go back there and screw some strippers. They don't all do it.
Right.
Not every club does that.
Only the good ones.
Only the champagne ones, and those are the ones with the guys with lots of money. That's okay. But, you got to kind of sit down and really, in the relationship at the very beginning, decide between the two of you,
Right.
Okay, what do you consider cheating? First of all, you need to know the game rules. How can you, if I don't know what you consider cheating is, first of all, you shouldn't be looking anywhere, but if
Right.
you're going to go down that road, at least know the boundaries that you're playing in.
Right.
And once that's established, now if the person goes outside the marriage, you can go free, because we went over this.
Right. Well,
You can't claim stupid here.
Right, exactly. But we're talking, now let's say we're talking about, two people that are just kind of randomly seeing each other. They haven't claimed exclusivity yet. So it's kind of, I guess, before then. Like, how would you view that if a woman was going out with multiple men, and maybe out of those
Again, it's
multiple...
communication, exactly what Ashley just said. It's communication.
Right.
You got to look at this. Okay, are we monogamous and we are in a relationship, or
Right.
are we still open to see other people? Again, if you don't have the rules, how can you play the game?
Right.
You know what happens though?
Those boundaries.
What happens though a lot, and this is happening with me right now actually, so I'd love some advice. You start dating somebody or casually seeing them, and you're hooking up every so often or whatever, but you don't want to have the conversation. You should, but you don't want to have, and of course I'm having safe sex because I'm no idiot, but you don't want to have the conversation of, are we exclusive? Are we seeing other people? Because you don't want to, like you said, men are just so afraid of any kind of anything ever, and you don't want to scare them off,
Right.
because men feel like if they tell you, oh, I don't want to be exclusive. I've had a lot of men where I'm like, that's okay, you don't want to be exclusive, but then they're like, they run off because they think that they've like done something wrong, and I'm like, I don't, because they're afraid of the confrontation. They're afraid if they tell me, oh, I don't want to be exclusive, that it's going to be awkward.
Right.
So they just run off. So how do you approach the situation so early on?
How do you approach the situation? Again, communication. You've got to sit down. You have to have that talk whether you want to have it or not.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
right now what you're doing is you guys are dancing around in the gray area, and it's like, well, okay, like I really just don't want to broach the subject.
But you know what it is?
Don't you want to find out now what this guy
Right.
is capable of dealing with?
Right. I think
It's better to sit down and go, okay, here's the deal. As far as I'm concerned, we're not exclusive. Let's set some boundaries and figure out what the issues are so that we can, narrowly be doing what we're doing.
right. I agree with you, because you know why? It's very taxing on the emotions when you're not communicating. Right. You're not communicating what you want from this person. So if a woman is looking eventually to settle down and be in a relationship with someone, and she tells the guy that, and he's like, oh, well, I'm not ready to be in a relationship yet, but, I want to be with you and see where it goes, like, where does that leave two people?
That leaves the female standing there going, okay, I have a decision to make.
Right.
Do I want to stay with this guy and possibly risk not being in a relationship and therefore losing time?
Right.
Or I happen to like this individual and, I don't mind going on, I don't mind it, so, if it grows into something, it does. If it doesn't, I'm still going to be over here looking.
Right. Exactly.
That's how you look at it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be negative. It's just, learn from it. Stand there and go, and I'm going to hang on to him for a little while and see,
Yeah.
Right.
Ashley said if they run after the talk, then they most likely only ever wanted to have fun. Anyway,
Right.
so.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true. You're right.
Now,
But sometimes fun can be so fun.
Sitting down with someone and having a proper conversation. Now, if this person doesn't want to talk and you're trying to talk, that's telling you something too.
Right.
I always say this on my show. Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Stop looking for that rainbow that's coming out of the butthole that doesn't exist.
Right.
I got news for you. If he's a douche, he's not going to change, and he should not do it.
Right.
I'm glad.
So simple and true.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that you bring that up. I can speak only for myself, but as far as other people is concerned, do people that cheat actually change? Because a woman always believes that once a man cheats, he's always going to be a cheater, he's always going to cheat, etc., etc., etc. Is it true that people can change?
I agree.
Of course they can. People can change. Anybody can change. If it's something that you really want to do, if it's being done for the right reasons, which is doing it selfishly for yourself and not for everybody around you,
Right.
then yeah, of course you can change. But if you look at trends, if you look at, statistics,
Right.
then you're looking at, chances are, especially if they cheated on you per se,
Right.
because they've already jumped me. They've already jumped that hurdle.
Right.
So it's going to be easier the next time. That's the way I look at it. Now, that's not, understand that's coming from my own viewpoint again, and you're always going to get that with any therapist that you talk to, even though they say, oh, everything's on bias.
Right.
What's going on in your own mind is always going to come out, no matter what.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's my personal view would be, if he's done it to you before, he probably doesn't want to go through the bullshit of a divorce. So therefore, he's going to be, oh, no, I'm never going to do it again.
Right.
I am reluctant. Now you have to prove to me.
Right.
You know, and I don't think that's unreasonable. You now have to prove to me that you are trustworthy again.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to believe everything that comes out of your mouth because I've learned the hard way that the rainbow is not coming out of your asshole.
You're absolutely right. And I think that whole thing.
If he does it again, you also can't complain, ladies.
Right, because you've stayed there and you've had the experience once before.
Change for you. Not gonna happen.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
But can someone change? Sure they can.
Exactly.
Whether you want to believe they can do it, or if you want to stand behind them, if you love that person enough that you're willing to look this over, and you think they're really going to give it an old college try, then stay with them and try and work it out. But if you have that much negativity, like I would,
right,
and I would just be like,
right,
you have to jump through so many hoops now. It's not even worth it. You've now become a human tool. So
right, you can fall in love more than once, I think.
Yeah, and I think that relationships as a whole in this day and age, with our modern technology and different ways of meeting people, that relationships are much more of a challenge than they were, back in the 90s, I think.
It's a different challenge. I would say, even when you, and Ashley Dill will tell you this, what's an interesting challenge now is social media. So now, it's easier to get caught.
Right.
Okay, because let's face it, people talk a lot, and people tend to talk about themselves and love themselves, so they talk about themselves a lot. That's the whole point where
it's all about me.
It's weird. Like, she just went through a breakup, and she's actually seeing him now talking to other people on his Facebook page, and it's a weird feeling.
Right.
Whereas before, you break it off, and it's gone, okay? The guy's gone. Now you can still see what he's doing in little streams and trickles here and there.
Right.
And that really get under your skin.
It's so disrespectful. I think, like, with technology nowadays and social media and everything, and the way it's affecting relationships these days, I can honestly say the best relationship I have is with my vibrator. No,
that's usually the best relationship that I have too. My little pocket rocket never talks back to me.
And it's only there to make you happy.
Right, I always know where it is. We're always in a relationship. We never fight. It's fantastic.
It's a good thing. Well, Dr. Sue, we want to thank you for being on the show tonight on KEM Top Talk. You were extremely informative, and we have to have you back when we're not having any technical difficulties, because it's 9:14 and the show has to end promptly at 9:30. But we definitely want to have you back, and for the viewers that are watching, you definitely have to check out Dr. Sue's interview on kinkemagazine.com, and that's with the letter E, but you already know that by now.
And all my links are there, so you can find me there.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the easiest way to do it. Go to KEM Magazine.
And what was your website again?
The DrSueReview.com, and it's doctor with a DR, not spelled out.
Yes.
So the DrSueReview.com.
Exactly.
Right.
And again, you'll be able to find all of her links on Kinky Magazine in the Dominant issue this month.
Ashley J., we want to thank you for staying this show locked and for your compliments. And we want to thank everyone in the chat room today.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
A lot of these guys are my little buddies from my show, so thank you guys.
Definitely.
Everybody in the chat room.
Next time you come back, Dr. Sue, you have to bring all your friends back. We absolutely,
yes,
thank you. We've never had such great chatters in the chat room. Great conversation.
Really good. Everybody, you got to log in every week now, because we have a good show going on every week. So, Dr. Sue, you have to be on there as well. So, Dr. Sue, thank you. We're going to wrap up the show with a little bit of shout out to people.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you.
Go to Kinky Magazine and check everything out, because there's a lot of sexy options there.
And that includes Justine as well.
Oh yeah, my interview's up there too.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sue.
Thank you, bye.
Bye-bye. So here we are.
She's awesome.
We just I love her.
I love her. She's awesome.
Very, very informative, Dr. Sue. You can also find her on Twitter, and you actually spelled out Dr. Sue, at Dr. Sue. You can find her on Twitter. But again, all of the links are in Kinky Magazine. So in lieu of, because we started out so late and we are pressed for time, we have like less than, oh, thank you so much. It's like now all of a sudden all my things are starting to come in now. I just want to say I didn't get to watch the VP debate because I was at Tammany Hall last night watching Planet Law play. Planet 12 Law, you can find him on Twitter at that name. His name is Lawrence. He's a musician, one of the most fantastic musicians that I've ever seen. He is just absolutely awesome, and I wish you could be there, but you were sick, so you couldn't. Also,
Shout out to Alexis Ford for getting me sick.
And hopefully I won't be crying sick in the next couple of days. So I want to thank Planet Law for being there and playing. He was absolutely fantastic. I want to thank the new writers that are coming on board. Justine's mom, who unfortunately had to log off, and we're going to call her in a little bit to find out if she's okay.
She hears about these stories, and she's kind of a hypochondriac. Dr. Sue, maybe you can help her. She's kind of a hypochondriac, so she hears these stories, and all of a sudden she thinks these things are going to happen to me.
Well, none of those things are going to happen to us.
Definitely not.
One of the people that I interviewed for Kinky Magazine, her name is Terry Jensen. She writes the Narcissist blog, is going to be writing for us now. Her section is called Fact or Myth, and she's going to be talking about different facts and myths about relationships, because that is what she talks about in her blog. So we want to welcome Terry Jensen to the Kinky Magazine family. Yay! We also want to welcome, and I made a big announcement yesterday, and I did tell Justine about this because I can tell her those things, and she's privy to this information. Adam and Eve are now guest contributing. They're writing stories and articles into the magazine. And you can find them at 90 Thoughts with Adam and Eve. And this month they contributed a nice erotic story, so you must read it. Log into kinkymagazine.com. And also I need to say that this week I was with the Velvet Radio ladies.
For those of you who don't know, I host Velvet Radio, which is it's a sex-related radio show.
Yes.
That can be found on velvetxxx.com. And we did have Marabelle back on to play
Who's Sitting on My Face?
Where we had Marabelle here blindfolded, and we had 3 different porn stars sit on her face, and she had to guess which one was sitting on her face.
And let me tell you, for all the men that are out there, I know you wish you were me right now.
And that was a crazy episode. We also had, that's when we interviewed porn star and penthouse pet Alexis Ford.
Yes.
So check that episode out.
It's definitely a great show. Did the episode go up already?
It's gonna go up next week. Right now our episode is up with Stoya, porn star Stoya.
Okay. So definitely check that out.
VelvetXXX.com.
And I want to thank the Velvet family for inviting me. I feel
I love you.
I know. I feel like we're all one big happy porn fetish family. We really are. So we're going to wrap up the show early in lieu of Justine. I'm sure that she wants to run home and lay down.
I do have some news, though. Some news if people are still watching. I am the new columnist, the adult advice columnist.
Oh, that's right.
For nyctalking.com. So my first column went up. It's the first time I'm like the new Latino Carrie Bradshaw. I'm the minority Carrie Bradshaw. But my first article is up, and it's on how singles can meet other singles in New York City.
Oh, wow.
So if you'd like to read that article, you can go to nyctalking.com, and the title of my column is All the Single Ladies Need a Single Dude.
See, we're all moving up in the world. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Not at all.
As for me, I'm like starving right now. I heard my stomach growl. Hopefully nobody else did.
Well, I heard my ears perked when you said Adam and Eve, because they need to start sending in some toys to the show. I need some toys.
Yeah, I need toys too. I'm like, yeah, I need it.
You're surrounded by toys.
I know. It's like we have all these toys here. So if you ever want to buy them, you just go to kinkymagazine.com.
Oh, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Dr. Sue.
Oh, there she is in bed with Dr. Sue. We're like reading the chat room. So we're gonna leave you now, and I should have done this, but I forgot. I wanted to do like a little joke and cue up the theme song to the Magic Garden, the end of the song. It's like, see ya, hope you had a good time, bottom. Okay, so I was a little. I'm telling my age over here. So we're gonna get going. Thank you, Dr. Sue, again for such an informative show on cheating.
That was great.
And you know what? The bottom line is, if you're gonna be in an exclusive relationship with somebody, don't cheat. It's that simple. And if you are going to be doing extracurricular activities, there's a place I know that's a swingers place. They have beautiful people there, and you can, have sex with other people in front of your partner.
Make sure you speak with your partners first, and always remember to have safe sex. And I'm going to take Dr. Sue's advice and down some hot sauce. Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for watching. Peace.